Hey everybody, what's going on? We are here with a timeless reading. The first card that we have out is Seven of Pentacles. And Knight of Wands. Okay. I'd actually say that you're feeling particularly motivated. So Seven of Pentacles is something that you're much in the middle of. To have the Knight of Wands, it can show a time where you're feeling inspired, you can feel excited, you can be feeling motivated. There's definitely a feeling of fueled, a feeling of being fueled that you would be experiencing. So I'd say this can be like, I'm feeling energetic about this thing that I have going on. I'm feeling passionate about it. I'm feeling ready. I'm feeling excited. I'm feeling motivated. I'm feeling inspired. It's going to be these sorts of things. And this is also like a can-do attitude as well. This is like stuff has to be done, or I need to participate, and I'm there and I'm fully participating and I'm ready. And then Three of Wands shows a lot of progress that's been made too. I'd say as well that if you had been experiencing a period where maybe you were feeling down or less motivated, or you had less energy, this can be a time where that really picks up for you, where you can start feeling more energized. You can start like maybe reconnecting with the vision that you have, or feeling reanimated again after maybe not feeling like that. Or it can just be a time of an energy boost even, or it can be something where you feel like really dynamic, really magnetic, and ready to get things moving too. So this can also be a time where you could possibly move at a faster pace than you were before, or you can just feel more like motivated, like higher motivation maybe than what you normally do, how you normally feel. Having that Three of Wands, I definitely say that there's a lot of ground that's being covered now. I'm seeing the Devil come out, and this can mean like something's coming up where you don't want to get caught into a trap of like overdoing it in some way. Or it can even speak about being in a place where maybe you're freed from something that had been tampering with this or impacting this. We're going to clarify the Devil and see if we can get more insight into what this is. Yeah, I'm seeing the Emperor here. So this can be something going on where it could be like overworking, or it could be like an obsession, like trying to force things, like not allowing for the flow. So whatever that is, it feels pretty much like you have that handled here. The Devil that's in these cards is caged. And so I almost feel like there's an acknowledgement of that being there, but it's not so much a problem. And yeah, it can be stuff that actually gets in the way of your process, like does more harm than good, but I'm not really seeing it be much of an issue. Feels just like recognizing that that's around and that you can teeter into that energy, and it feels more like an extreme than anything to me in this case. So just something to be aware of. Okay. So an extreme that you have handled, because I'm seeing Temperance next to the Devil. So I'd say this is something that you're like moderating or keeping moderately level. That may be something that you're actively doing. Like maybe you have a handle on things, but you also have to like put energy in still to have a handle on things, you know? Like if you're trying not to go into some sort of extreme here, you can be in a place that's feeling more balanced, and you can also be deliberately keeping things balanced, knowing that if you don't do that, things can possibly go into an extreme. So I'd say that this is something that you're in the process of working with, but that it does look like you're in a pretty balanced space. Interesting. So connected with the Seven of Pentacles, we have the Wanderer. The Wanderer is connected with the Fool card in in the normal deck. I don't know if normal is the right word. You guys know what I'm saying. So, actually, you know what I'm seeing this be connected with? For whatever this is that may have been in some type of extreme before that you're balancing now, I feel like this is a new way of figuring out how to do things without that being there. So even though it's not like a new, even though this isn't like a, I'm dropping this and I'm starting that thing over there, this is like a continuation of what you've been investing in. I feel like you're investing in it in like, it has kind of a different nature to it than how things were before. So even though like technically it's the same investment, I feel like your approach is changing. That's where I'm getting the energy of the Fool. That's what's making sense as far as what I'm seeing here. And I'd say that you're in the process of figuring this out. You're in the process of discovering this. I'd say that you don't have it all figured out yet, but it's, again, in the process of happening. And this feels like it's more efficient for you. And it just in general looks like a better approach that you are taking to things. And I'd also say that I feel like you have more energy. It's like you'd have more energy, or you'd have more fuel, or you'd have more like life force that you can sort of contribute to this, rather than whatever was going on before that I feel like you couldn't participate as fully. So that's interesting, because even though I'm seeing you now be able to like participate more fully, meaning it feels like this is a very direct channeling of your energy into this. You're not going into the extremes. So you're more fully participating, yet you're not going into the extremes here. So maybe even before you were like, things were extreme and you felt like that was the most effective way of participating, and now you're realizing that it's actually not. And so even though you're not in an extreme, you're participating more fully than you were before. And I'd say, because we have fire here, this is the stuff that's really the fuel to like motivate you doing something. And so having that there, it's like, this is something that may feel more interesting to you. You can feel like more excited. You can feel like you're having more ideas, or you can be like having more energy to get things done or to figure things out. And it's not even just about getting things done. It's about like whatever this is that you're creating, whatever this is that you're putting your energy into. And so it feels good because of that. It feels even like more of what you like to do. So it can be something that's just like a more enjoyable process for you as well. Like this feels fun now. And maybe things weren't necessarily feeling like that, or there were other things going on that maybe feel less agreeable, that are no longer part of the process anymore. Yeah, I'm seeing you also looking more stable here too, like in the heart and in the mind, resting more easily in your soul, say more connected, more in touch, still figuring things out. Still holding it down. Yeah, I'm not seeing you be in any sort of place where there's a giving up of sorts. I'd say that you feel protective over what you have going on here. And I'd say too that you're at a phase where it feels normal for you to be switching it up a bit. This seems like it's a good period of evolution for you. I'd say too that you really care about what you're doing too, and that's what you're using your energy for. Yeah. Okay, so the devil is looking at the Three of Wands. Maybe before there had been like a hyper fixation on progress, on future, on stuff that was maybe not allowing you to be fully present. I think that was part of what was going on. I don't think that's the whole thing. It feels like just part of it. And I feel too like you almost have to protect the Knight of Wands from the devil. Like the Knight of Wands is an energy that doesn't always use full discernment, and so it feels like, well, I mean, it can, but I'd say that having this be a thing in the reading, this energy of the Knight of Wands may not always use its full discernment. Having the Devil there can be, you know, the Knight of Wands can get a little bit distracted, I think, by shiny things or by extremes even sometimes. And so it feels like keeping an eye on the Devil and making sure that the Knight of Wands energy doesn't get too close to that, of sort of going overboard, is important, and you have to protect that part of your energy. So it feels like staying tapped into the pureness of this without things going into some sort of extreme. And so there's a major tempering that's going on here to make sure that it does not dilute your process that you have going on here, and so it does not tamper with the process that you have going on and make it like less pure. So that part of you that's inspired because you're inspired and this is something that you want to be doing without focusing on the wrong stuff, it feels like keeping that part of you in check and in line here, and making sure that it's fueled and motivated by the right things. You know, like a metaphorical, well-rounded meal rather than being fueled off of candy. It feels like the difference between that, where like Knight of Wands can be fueled by different things, and it feels like a holistic approach is important here, rather than being in some type of extreme or just like having it be a means to an end. It feels like the actual means are being focused on and are very important, and it's important to keep that fueled from a clean place. And that's what allows you to sort of approach this, maybe even with the right intention. So whatever this is with the Devil, I definitely say that it's still a bit of a struggle. It's connected with the Nine of Wands, so it can show that it is still something that's there. It is still something that you've been working with. That can sometimes pull a little bit of your energy over in that direction, but I'd say for the most part that this is something that is under control. Devil and Nine of Wands too feels like ultimately clearing out something that doesn't need to be part of the process and may actually hinder it. I think this is also something too that could have you go like lopsided emotionally as well. And that being conflict that's being worked through slowly but surely. Like it feels kind of like separating yourself from the Devil. What was the card that clarified it before? It was the Emperor. I'd say that with the Emperor and the Devil, there can be so much of a focus on, it feels like doing duties that are outside of what actually needs to be done and what needs to be focused on, and even putting emphasis on those things that it feels like not really the point. Because I do get the sense of you still actively working through things here, because we do have the Five of Wands. Yeah, it feels like a clog that's being unclogged currently. Okay. Having the Wanderer and having Four of Pentacles, I'd say that there's trying to discover the balance between being too rigid there's a desire for stability when we have the Four of Pentacles, but it can sometimes go into that territory of being too rigid. And so it feels like trying to find the balance here without being like too far and becoming inflexible. I feel like becoming more flexible and more in flow is something that's currently being worked on. That can be something that frightens you sometimes. Nine of Swords is looking at Four of Pentacles. So Four of Pentacles is that part of you that can become rigid, can become like it needs to be like this, and this, or not wanting to get outside of your comfort zone or try something new or expand. That can be being done from a place of anxiety, from a place of, I think, just like wanting to control, because that can have us feeling safe, something like this. But it can be not motivate. It can be motivated by fear, and that can be something that you don't want to be motivated by. Like there can be a wanting to control things or wanting to hold on to things, becoming too rigid, stepping out of flow because of that, because of being in a state of fear. Meaning stuff is going on and you can start becoming inflexible even though the situation requires for flexibility, but it's coming from a place of fear and it sort of sidelines you a bit. So I'd say that there's something there that's being worked through with this, where there's like a learning that you can be flexible and you can still be safe within that. Like you are safe to be flexible. It can be something along the lines of that that's being worked through. On the other side of that is you feeling quite content with things. So I definitely see that as being worth it. Also not being controlled by the fears, not being controlled by the anxieties. And really this allowing, because you know the devil is that stuff that has us wanting to micromanage. And I'm seeing this other energy that's coming out here that feels like being fueled by something much more powerful and having to find your grounding within that, which can be difficult because it's a very high frequency that you are connecting with. And so sort of shifting gears here is what you're in the process of doing. I'd say that like you're actually there in that space. You're also still like untethering from some other stuff. It just feels like some loose ends that are being tied up currently. Definitely turning over a new leaf emotionally, and I'd say that the way that you're doing things is also kind of changing a bit too. And even though I'm still seeing some turmoil that's being worked through and some feelings of maybe like stiffening up when that's happening, I'm ultimately seeing a relaxing into a place of trust and knowing. That is what you're connecting with. And I'd say too that that type of drive knows no bounds either. Like it's not something that you're going to feel bound to like you would when the devil is involved, which brings up a lot of rules and regulations and is very confining as well. You're moving into a place where your whole approach, I think, is shifting. So even though it's the same thing that you're working on, the approach is changing in a major way. And I'm seeing a like softening up. It's kind of like clay that's being rehydrated so it can be movable, so it can be flexible. Whereas before it was like like falling to pieces when you had to move even the slightest bit. Now it feels like something else that's going on here, where there's that easing of the tension. And I think just working through all of that. And even though I'm not seeing it be a rush, like by this deadline, you need to be at that place, I'm seeing slowly but surely, this is the, I think, like mental space that you are moving into. This hasn't been easy, but I'm seeing you do a good job working through this, and I do feel like it's something that you have the energy to work through now at this point. Something that I'm seeing here, which I touched on a little bit before, there's something going on where you're connected with the Knight of Wands. This is the part of you that's brave. This is the part of you that's motivated. This is the part of you that's really ready to face whatever. That part of you, it seems like, is being protected from the influence of the devil, which is going to be some type of fear that will barricade you and create problems. There's something about sort of protecting this part of you to not like unmotivate it. It feels like if you don't have the devil where it needs to be, that it will blow out the flame that is connected, that really powers the Knight of Wands. And so there's a need to sort of protect that. And I don't know how exactly that's being done, but I'm seeing something going on that's connected with that. The devil really will have you doing the wrong thing for the wrong reasons. Like, it'll feel like it goes against your better intuition. However, it can really harness fear within you and play off of that. So it can be a very powerful influence if we allow it to be. Knight of Wands, like, I feel like this is something that can douse the motivation of the Knight of Wands, that part of you, and needing to like figure that out and not allow that to steal away the motivation, the fire and the light of the Knight of Wands. So as you're moving through this process, you can have maybe some tall stuff that's coming up that you have to move through, and it's just to move through it and to keep going, not to set you back. And to hold on to what you know to be true, even if this can feel difficult. And I feel like it gets tricky because it can mess with your mind at times. And I feel too, because you're doing things in a bit of a different way, like having this different approach, it can feel uncomfortable because you're still figuring things out. And there is a need to pull through and to focus on the track that you want to be focusing on. And to not give up. To not bend in a way that you don't want to bend in, or not bend for something that you don't want to bend for, but bending for the right reasons. The part of you that may have a hard time loosening up can feel like this is a bit of a struggle. However, it feels very much like it's going to be worth it for you at the end of the day. And it will all make sense. And then also going through this phase where it feels like the difference between the devil energy and the energy that is connected, like your cosmic energy, and that being something that you are in the midst of working through, like that is the challenge. And it's going to be like fear, intimidation, illusion versus love. And ultimately, I think too, like ignorance versus love, because the devil works in a way just like how the Seven of Swords does, where if we have truth, the devil can't really stand up to that. It sort of like gets transmuted into truth, and so it's no longer really there to influence. But it's something that can have power when we're in that realm. And so working with this in any way that you need to. I do think that this comes in a like thought form. This is how it sort of enters your system. Seeing through that, working through that. I'm seeing too, Nine of Swords and the Devil are looking back, but this energy of love that you are connecting to, love and awareness, is moving forward and sort of permeating out. And so it is the continuation of what it is that you're doing. So I feel like with the devil, it can like keep you held back, going back, or keep you stagnant. And this is allowing you to move forward in the direction that you want to move in, and slowly working through this process. The devil too is the like these false narratives and beliefs that we can have of that are like not based in truth. So it can be checking into belief systems that we have as well, that when we get to the bottom of it, we realize that it is not a clear narrative that is based in truth. It can be things that are based in ignorance. And that is sort of where the fear is thriving. And so this is also something that can be more deeply reflected upon when you have these things coming up, taking them apart and then transmuting them and moving forward with it. And it feels like this is quite a process with Temperance and Five of Wands. This is something that takes time to work through, and you also have to be mentally agile to do this as well. So doing things that also fuel that part of yourself too, to stay clear. And it's also something that's helping you know when you need to sort of be more still, when you need to be more solid, and when you need to be more flexible. It's helping you with all of these things as well. And in the middle of this spread, we have Seven of Wands, and I'd say that this is reflecting on and knowing the difference between, it's like checking into why you're doing what you're doing. So Seven of Wands is a card that can be seen as being defensive. Seven of Wands can also be seen as standing up for what we believe in, and knowing the difference between the two. When is it you're fighting for something that feels important and you're not giving up, versus you're being defensive and this is regressive somehow? You know, like fighting for the wrong cause or for the wrong reasons. It's like making sure essentially that you're doing things for the right reasons, and that you're also aware of what you're doing and why you're doing it. And I think also it's like what's motivating that, what the intention is, and then what the effect of that will be too. I think that about does it. We have Capricorn and we have Sagittarius here. All right, my friends, we are going to leave the reading here. I would like to thank everyone for connecting. Thank you for tuning in. I am sending everybody love, and I hope to catch you guys next time.